A trolleybus is an electric bus that draws power from overhead wires using spring-loaded trolley poles. 2 wires and poles are required to complete the electrical circuit. This differs from a tram or streetcar, which normally uses the track as the return path, needing only 1 wire and 1 pole. They also distinct from other kinds of electric buses, which usually rely on batteries. Power is most commonly supplied as 600-volt direct current, but there have been, and are, exceptions. Currently, around 300 trolleybus systems are in operation, in cities and towns in 43 countries. Altogether, more than 800 trolleybus systems have existed, but not more than about 400 concurrently. History. The trolleybus dates back to the 29th of April 1882, when Dr. Ernst Werner Siemens demonstrated his electromotor in a Berlin suburb. This experiment continued until the 13th of June 1882, after which there were few developments in Europe, although separate experiments were conducted in the US. In 1899, another vehicle which could run either on or off rails was demonstrated in Berlin. The next development was when Lombard Guerin operated an experimental line at the Paris exhibition of 1900 after 4 years of trials, with a circular route around Lake Domesnil that carried passengers. Routes followed in Eberswalde and Fontainebleau. Max Schiemann on 10 July 1901 opened the world's 4th passenger-carrying trolleybus system, which operated at Bielefeld, in Germany. Schiemann built and operated the Bielefeld system, and is credited with developing the under-running trolley current collection system, with 2 horizontally parallel overhead wires and rigid trolley poles spring-loaded to hold them up to the wires. Although this system operated only until 1904, Schiemann had developed what is now the standard trolleybus current collection system. In the early days there were a few other methods of current collection. The CE-AQT Stoll system was operated near Dresden between 1902 and 1904, and in Vienna. The Lloyd-Kohler or Bremen system was tried out in Bremen, and the Cantano-Frigerio system was demonstrated near Milan. Throughout the period, trackless freight systems and electric canal boats were also built. Leeds and Bradford became the first cities to put trolleybuses into service in Great Britain on 20 June 1911. Apparently, though it was opened on 20 June, the public was not admitted to the Bradford route until the 24th. Bradford was also the last to operate trolleybuses in the UK, the system closing on 26 March 1972. The last rear-entrance trolleybus in Britain was also in Bradford and is now owned by the Bradford Trolleybus Association. Birmingham was the first to replace a tram route with trolleybuses, while Wolverhampton, under the direction of Charles Owen Silvers, became world-famous for its trolleybus designs. There were 50 trolleybus systems in the UK, London's being the largest. By the time trolleybuses arrived in Britain in 1911, the Schiemann system was well established and was the most common, although the CE-AQT Stoll system was tried in West Ham and in Keighley. Smaller trackless trolley systems were built in the US early as well. The first non-experimental system was a seasonal municipal line installed near Nantasket Beach in 1904. The first year-round commercial line was built to open a hilly property to development just outside of Los Angeles in 1910. The trackless trolley was often seen as an interim step, leading to streetcars. In the USA, some systems subscribed to the all-four concept of using buses, trolleybuses, streetcars and rapid transit subway or elevated lines, as appropriate, for routes ranging from the lightly used to the heaviest trunk line. Buses and trolleybuses in particular were seen as entry systems that could later be upgraded to rail as appropriate. In a similar fashion, many cities in Britain originally viewed trolleybus routes as extensions to tram routes where the cost of constructing or restoring track could not be justified at the time, though this attitude changed markedly in the years after 1918. Trackless trolleys were the dominant form of new post-war electric traction, with extensive systems in, among others, Los Angeles, Chicago, Rhode Island, and Atlanta. Boston, San Francisco, and Philadelphia still maintain an all-four fleet. Some trolleybus lines in the United States came into existence when a trolley or tram route did not have sufficient ridership to warrant track maintenance or reconstruction. In a similar manner, a proposed tram scheme in Leeds, United Kingdom, was changed to a trolleybus scheme to cut costs. Trolleybuses are uncommon today in North America, but they remain common in many European countries as well as Russia and China, generally occupying a position in usage between street railways and diesel buses. Worldwide, around 300 cities or metropolitan areas are served by trolleybuses today. Trolleybuses are used extensively in large European cities, such as Athens, Belgrade, Bratislava, Bucharest, Budapest, Chisinau, Kiev, Lyon, Milan, Minsk, Moscow, Riga, St. Petersburg, Sofia, Tallinn, Varna, Vilnius and Zurich, as well as smaller ones such as Arnhem, Bergen, Coimbra, Gdynia, Kaunas, Lausanne, Limoges, Luzin, Modena, Piatra Neamt, Plzeň, Prešov, Salzburg, Zolingen, Sig, Targu and Yalta. See also trolleybus usage by country. Transit authorities in some cities have reduced or discontinued their use of trolleybuses in recent years, while others, wanting to add or expand use of zero-emission vehicles in an urban environment, have opened new systems or are planning new systems. For example, Lecce, Italy, opened a new trolleybus system in 2012, and new systems are planned in Leeds and Montreal, among other places. Vehicle design. Advantages. Trolleybuses are better than internal combustion buses on hilly routes, as electric motors allow static torque at startup, an advantage for climbing steep hills. Unlike IC engines, electric motors draw power from a central plant and can be overloaded for short periods without damage. San Francisco and Seattle, both hilly American cities, use trolleybuses partly for this reason, another being improved air quality. Given their acceleration and braking performance, trolleybuses can outperform diesel buses on flat stretches as well. Trolleybuses' rubber tires have better adhesion than trams' steel wheels on steel rails, giving them better hill climbing capability and braking. Unlike rail vehicles, an out-of-service vehicle can be moved to the side of the road and its trolley poles lowered, allowing other trolleybuses to pass. Additionally, because they are not confined to tracks, trolleybuses can pull over to the curb as a diesel bus does, eliminating boarding islands in the middle of the street. Like other electric vehicles, trolleybuses may be more environmentally friendly in the city than fossil fuel or hydrocarbon-based vehicles. Although the power is not free because it has to be produced at centralized power plants with attendant transmission losses, it is often produced more efficiently. Further, it is not bound to a specific fuel source and is more amenable to pollution control as a point-source supply than individual vehicles with their own engines exhausting noxious gases and particulates at street level. Other cities, Vancouver, BC, for instance, use hydroelectricity. However, for regenerative braking to work as such, there must be another bus on the same circuit that needs power, or a way to send the excess power back to the commercial electric power system. Otherwise, the braking power must be dissipated in resistance grids on the bus when it is called dynamic braking. There are alternatives, such as batteries or flywheels on the bus or at the bus power station, but they add to the investment, complexity and maintenance expenses. Unlike trams or gasoline and diesel buses, trolleybuses are almost silent, lacking the noise of an engine or of wheels on rails. Such noise as there is tends to emanate from the motor. Auxiliary systems such as power steering pumps and air conditioning. Early trolleybuses without these systems were even quieter and, in the UK at least, were often referred to as the silent service. The quietness did have its disadvantages though, with some pedestrians falling victim to what was also known as the silent death or whispering death. Trolleybuses are especially favored where electricity is abundant and cheap. Examples are the extensive systems in Vancouver, Canada and Seattle, US, both of which draw hydroelectric power from the Columbia River and other Pacific River systems. San Francisco operates its system using hydropower from the city-owned Hetchy generating plant. As can be seen from examples in this article, electric buses tend to be very long-lived as compared to IC-powered buses. As the basic construction of buses has not changed much in the last 50-plus years, they can be upgraded, such as when air conditioning was retrofitted to many trolleybuses when it became available. In Cambridge, Massachusetts, trackless trolleys survived because Harvard Station, where several bus lines terminate, is in a tunnel that was once used by streetcars. Although diesel buses do use the tunnel, there are limitations due to exhaust fumes. Also, the trackless trolleys continue to have popular support. Disadvantages: reroutings, temporary or permanent, are not usually readily available outside of downtown areas where the buses may be rerouted via adjacent business area streets where other trolleybus routes operate. This problem was highlighted in Vancouver in July 2008, when an explosion closed several roads in the city's downtown core. Because of the closure, trolleys were forced to detour several kilometers off their routes in order to stay on the wires, leaving major portions of their routes unserved and service well off schedule. Also, trolleybuses have unique operating characteristics, such as trolley drivers having to slow down at turns and through switches in the overhead wire system. Some trolleybus systems have been criticized for aesthetic reasons, with city residents complaining that the jumble of overhead wires was unsightly. Intersections often have a webbed ceiling appearance, due to multiple crossing and converging sets of trolley wires. Dewirements, when the trolley poles come off of the wires, sometimes occur, especially in areas subject to heavy snow. After a dewirement, trolleybuses not equipped with an auxiliary power unit are stranded without power. However, dewirements are relatively rare in modern systems with well-maintained overhead wires, hangers, fittings and contact shoes. Trolleybuses are equipped with special insulated pole ropes which drivers use to reconnect the trolley poles with the overhead wires in case of dewirement. When approaching switches, trolleybuses usually must decelerate in order to avoid dewiring, and this deceleration can potentially add slightly to traffic congestion. Trolleybuses cannot overtake one another in regular service unless two separate sets of wires with a switch are provided or the vehicles are equipped with off-wire capability, with the latter an increasingly common feature of new trolleybuses. Trackless trolleys are often long-lived equipment, with limited market demand. This generally leads to higher prices relative to internal combustion buses. The long equipment life also sometimes complicates upgrades. Off-wire power developments. With the reintroduction of hybrid designs, trolleybuses are no longer tied to overhead wires. The Public Service Company of New Jersey, with Yellow Coach, developed all-service vehicles, trackless trolleys capable of operating as gas-electric buses when off-wire, and used them successfully between 1935 and 1948. Since the 1980s, trolleybus systems such as Muni in San Francisco, TransLink in Vancouver, and in Beijing, among others, have bought trolleybuses equipped with batteries to allow them to operate fairly long distances away from the wires. Supercapacitors can be also used to move buses short distances. Trolleybuses can optionally be equipped either with limited off-wire capability, a small diesel engine or battery pack for auxiliary or emergency use only, or full dual-mode capability. A simple auxiliary power unit can allow a trolleybus to get around a route blockage or can reduce the amount of overhead wiring needed at operating garages. This capability has become increasingly common in newer trolleybuses, particularly in North America and Western Europe, where the vast majority of new trolleybuses delivered since the 1990s are fitted with at least limited off-wire capability. These have gradually replaced older trolleybuses which lacked such capability. In Philadelphia, new trolleybuses that were placed in service by SEPTA in 2008 are equipped with small hybrid diesel-electric power units for operating short distances off-wire. Instead of using a conventional diesel drivetrain or battery-only system for their off-wire movement, King County Metro in Seattle, Washington and the MBTA in Boston have used dual-mode buses that run on electric power from overhead wires on a fixed right-of-way and on diesel power on city streets. Metro used special-order articulated breeder buses with the center axle driven electrically and the rear axle driven by a conventional power pack, with electricity used for clean operation in the downtown transit tunnel. They were introduced in 1990 and retired in 2005, replaced by cleaner hybrid buses. Although 59 of 236 had their diesel propulsion equipment removed and continue in trolleybus service on non-tunnel routes, the MBTA uses dual-mode buses on its new Silver Line. Other considerations: with increasing diesel fuel costs and problems caused by particulate matter and NOx emissions in cities, trolleybuses can be an attractive alternative, either as the primary transit mode or as a supplement to rapid transit and commuter rail networks. Trolleybuses are quieter than IC vehicles. Mainly a benefit, it also provides much less warning of a trolleybus's approach. A speaker attached to the front of the vehicle can raise the noise to a desired, safe level. This noise can be directed to pedestrians in front of the vehicle, as opposed to motor noise which typically comes from the rear of a bus and is more noticeable to bystanders than to pedestrians. Trolleybuses can share overhead wires and other electrical infrastructure with tramways. This can result in cost savings when trolleybuses are added to a transport system that already has trams, though this refers only to potential savings over the cost of installing and operating trolleybuses alone. Wire switches. Trolleybus wire switches are used where a trolleybus line branches into two or where two lines join. A switch may be either in a straight-through or turn-out position. It normally remains in the straight-through position unless it has been triggered, and reverts to it after a few seconds or after the pole shoe passes through and strikes a release lever. Triggering is typically accomplished by a pair of contacts, one on each wire close to and before the switch assembly, which power a pair of electromagnets, one in each frog with diverging wires. Multiple branches may be handled by installing more than one switch assembly. For example, to provide straight-through, left-turn or right-turn branches at an intersection. One switch is installed some distance from the intersection to choose the wires over the left-turn lane, and another switch is mounted closer to or in the intersection to choose between straight-through and a right-turn. Would be used to access the right turn lanes, and the second switch would be for the left turn. Three common types of switches exist: power on, power off, selectric, and Fizzler bend. A power on, power off switch is triggered if the trolleybus is drawing considerable power from the overhead wires, usually by accelerating. At the moment the poles pass over the contacts. If the trolleybus coasts through the switch will not activate. Some trolleybuses, such as those in Philadelphia and Vancouver, have a manual power coast toggle switch that turns the power on or off. This allows a switch to be triggered in situations that would otherwise be impossible, such as activating a switch while braking or accelerating through a switch without activating it. One variation of the toggle switch will simulate accelerating by causing a larger power draw but will not simulate coasting and prevent activation of the switch by cutting the power. A selectric switch has a similar design, but the contacts on the wires are skewed, often at a 45-degree angle, rather than being lined up. This skew means that a trolleybus going straight through will not trigger the switch, but a trolleybus making a turn will have its poles match the contacts in a matching skew, which will trigger the switch regardless of power draw. For a Fizzler bend switch, the trolleybus turn indicator control causes a coded radio signal to be sent from a transmitter, often attached to a trolley pole. The receiver is attached to the switch and causes it to trigger if the correct code is received. This has the advantage that the driver does not need to be accelerating the bus or trying to make a sharp turn. Trailing switches do not require action by the operator. The frog runners are pushed into the desired position by the trolley shoe, or the frog is shaped so the shoe is guided onto the exit wire without any moving parts.